On 17th of March, International Criminal Court accused Russian President Vladimir Putin and Children's Rights Commissioner Maria Lvova of kidnapping thousands of Ukrainian children and taking them to Russia. In response to this, Maria Lvova was supposed to respond in a meeting in United Nations, which was supposed to be webcast like all meetings. But the Western media and US walked out of the webcast. In fact, United Kingdom even banned the webcast. This was one of the rare occasions when a webcast from United Nations was banned. If you accuse someone of doing something, you also have to hear out their perspective or their version of reality. You might reject it afterwards, and in fact, you might continue with the accusation. But what's wrong in having a discussion? Has Vladimir Putin indeed kidnapped Ukrainian children? If Vladimir Putin will indeed be arrested in August this month during the BRICS summit, which will be held in South Africa, because he has confirmed his attendance physically in that summit. At the same time, South African opposition leaders have clearly mentioned and declared that they will go ahead and arrest Vladimir Putin. You see, they say the first casualty in any war is truth. Both the sides make claims and counterclaims. So in this video, whatever information we'll analyze, we'll have to take it with a pinch of salt. Since last year, heavy fighting has been going on in the southern and eastern part of Ukraine, Kherson and Kharkiv. These are the primary areas where it is alleged that these children have been taken over by the Russians. According to Ukrainian authorities, more than 16,000 children have been deported to Russia. According to various Western media outlets, these children, by and large, have been forcefully taken by Russia, and they are not orphans. That means these reports claim that the parents of these children are alive, and yet Russians have taken over the children and literally kidnapped them. It is also alleged that Russia is putting them into re-education camps where they are being indoctrined about Russian nationalism. Russian response says that these children have been safely evacuated from active war zone, and it is for the safety of these children that they have been taken to the Russian territory. Russian authorities have claimed that majority of these children are either orphans or have been abandoned by their parents. And a large percentage of these children have been voluntarily given by their parents for few weeks of vacation within Russia, which they created as a way to ensure that these children are safe. So far, the way the war has worked out is that the moment Russia captures a particular territory, there is usually a counter-offensive by Ukraine in the same territory. So there is artillery flying from both the sides even after a particular region is occupied. To ensure the safety of children, Russia is claiming that it is asking the parents of these children to send them to summer camps or vacation camps for few weeks till the time Russia completely secures that territory. ABC News, in fact, even reported that some of the families have indeed voluntarily given their children to the Russian authorities for few weeks. And ABC News also reports that these children were returned to these families after a stipulated amount of time. But at the same time, this report also highlights that many parents have still not received back their children, which Russia has taken. The Russian side claims that the route to send these children back is dangerous because Ukraine's counter-offensive is targeting the route. So what's surprising is that the International Committee for Red Cross has officially made a statement that it is in coordination with the Russian government to facilitate bringing back these children to Russia. It has officially announced that Russian government is cooperating and is following the processes to identify parents and giving it back to them. And in case where the parents are not found, the Russian government is following the due process for adoption. The thing to note is that despite Red Cross, which is an international organization, and Red Cross, mind you, is funded by European Union and Switzerland, which is not a Russian entity, and Red Cross is an independent organization. So if Red Cross is saying that Russia is following the relevant processes but it is the parents that are not coming with the relevant requests to take back the children. For whatever reason, either the parents are killed or they are displaced or they have abandoned. For whatever reason, if the response is not coming from the Ukraine side, you need to decide which version seems trustworthy to you. The Western version that Russia has been kidnapping thousands of children, or Red Cross version. But it's not like children are not returning from these 3-week vacation. The thing to note is that there have been delays. Instead of 3 weeks, it took more than 3 weeks in many cases. But a lot of children are indeed returning to Ukraine. But at the same time, a lot of children, unfortunately, are stuck in Russia. Now, we don't have evidence to confirm that whether Russia is doing this intentionally or really from the Ukrainian side, there has not been enough response. An NGO called Save Ukraine is helping parents. In fact, some parents are going through Poland and Belarus, driving down to Russia, trying to find their children. The Russian authorities are saying the relatives need to approach the Russian authorities. Now, according to American news outlet, again, this is not Russian propaganda, according to American news outlet, several children have reported that they were treated well in the camp and it was like a typical vacation trip with different kinds of entertainment for them during their stay. This is the exact words of children according to ABC News, which is a US-based news, mainstream news outlet. So this is not Russian propaganda. So it's very clear that it's not black and white. Yes, there might be instances where unfortunately a lot of children are stuck in Russia, but at the same time, to brand this and paint this as some kind of a mass kidnapping might be jumping into conclusion at this point of time without investigation. International Criminal Court is supposed to be an independent organization. On their website, they mention that they are an independent international organization not linked to United Nations. But if you deep dive, you'll realize that International Criminal Court closely works with United Nations indeed. You see, ICC is based out of Hague, and any amendment to the statute of ICC has to pass through United Nations. So in that sense, ICC is not exactly independent of United Nations. And we all know who controls United Nations. United Nations' largest funder is America. United Nations is headquartered in New York. And we all know United Nations is dominated by ex-US government officials. So it won't be surprising if United Nations is putting pressure on ICC to make these allegations against Russia. But at the same time, we are not sure whether Russians are indeed doing what they are claiming to do. This is a very sensitive issue. A lot of lives are involved in this. Children are unfortunately the saddest victims in any war, and we really can't be sure that Russia is innocent or Ukraine is innocent, who is lying and who is speaking the truth. But largest contributor to ICC are UK, France, Germany and United Kingdom. Now I'll come to the most shocking part. There are 31 cases which have been registered in ICC, and almost each and every case is from Africa. There is not a single case on any Western country. There's not a single accusation on any Western country. It's completely Africa based. You can check out the list for yourself. It's there on the website of ICC. Only local leaders from African countries have cases against them in ICC. You see, United States and Europe are accused of a lot of war crimes over the last 30 to 40 years. And a lot of these accusations have come from Western media outlets and Western organizations. Under these circumstances, don't you think it is shocking that not even a single case, not even one case is registered in ICC against any Western country? Just to give you some context, United States had launched Operation Baby Lift in 1975 in Vietnam, where thousands of Vietnamese children were literally packed and sent to United States. A large percentage of these children were not orphans. Even today, a lot of these children who have reached more than 40 years age are going back to Vietnam and discovering their real parents. Operation Baby Lift was ordered by the then President Ford, and thousands of children from Vietnam were deported to United States without proper documentation. Unfortunately, the sad reality has been children suffering in these wars. But does the West have a higher moral ground to say that what Russia is doing is wrong? Because even United States at that time mentioned that they were evacuating children to save them from the war. And today Russia is saying the same thing. They are evacuating children so that the children are not killed in the war. Because if these children in Ukraine are killed in war, then the same Western media outlets would say that Russia is killing children. So if Russia is taking steps to save the children from dying in the war, to accuse Russia of kidnapping these children is kind of counterproductive for West if their intention is to save these children. What Ukraine is expecting that these children should not be moved to safer areas, at the same time they should not be hurt in the conflict. How is that possible? Because even the Ukrainians are shelling their cities in counter-offensives. Even today as we speak, in the new counter-offensive where Ukrainians claim to take back Crimea, how would Ukraine be able to do that without shelling civilians? And if children are evacuated from those locations, would Ukraine say that these children have been kidnapped? But at the same time, I feel that in today's day and age, with the technology is available, better mechanisms can be implemented by Russia to track these children and their parents. Because if Russia does not put together mechanisms to send those children who are not orphans back to Ukraine, there will be a question mark on Russia's intent. The thing to note is that neither United States or Russia or China or a country like India recognize International Criminal Court. In fact, United States went one step ahead and in 2002 passed an act which is called as American Service Members Protection Act, which is also dubbed as Hague Invasion Act by many, which empowers America to actually take military action against Hague and the court to bring back any veteran or any American soldier arrested by ICC. That's the kind of extent United States has gone to deride the ICC. So essentially what United States has done is that it has created an exemption for itself that it can't be tried for war crimes, but at the same time it has opened all other countries, in fact more than 100, and exposed them for trial under ICC. Now the question is, will South Africa arrest Vladimir Putin during his visit to BRICS summit in August this year? Well, the South African president recently mentioned that he will pull out of International Criminal Court. But interestingly, immediately after a day, there was a statement announced by his office that they will not pull out of ICC. In fact, as we speak, the South African opposition leader has clearly announced that their state will go on and arrest Vladimir Putin if he sets his foot in South Africa. So this is an open declaration by the South African opposition leader. So far, South Africa seems to be undecided. It still has 2 months to decide what it wants to do. But Vladimir Putin has indeed confirmed his physical presence in Durban, in South Africa. The most likely outcome, according to me, is that Vladimir Putin will indeed visit South Africa and he won't be arrested. Because few years back, the Sudanese dictator Bashar was also supposed to be arrested in South Africa, but South Africa didn't arrest him, defying the ICC order. So in all probability, South Africa might as well not end up arresting Vladimir Putin. Now what step will ICC take against South Africa is to be seen. What would be interesting to see is that will United States impose sanctions against South Africa, because United States itself does not recognize ICC. So how can United States or any Western country impose sanctions on South Africa for not following ICC? If ICC is a neutral organization, then it has to try United States and Europe and NATO countries for the war crimes that they have committed in Iraq, Libya, Syria, Yugoslavia. You can name it. There are tens of countries where United States and NATO have committed war crimes, according to Western agencies. I'm not saying this, or the Russians are not saying this. According to the Western media outlets and Western organizations, there are allegations of war crimes on United States and Europe. But sadly, not a single case has been registered against them in ICC. Instead, African countries have been targeted with these charges in ICC. So this also puts a question mark that who is behind ICC and who is running ICC and what is the agenda of ICC. In your country, wherever you're staying, what if police starts catching criminals only from a particular location, leaving alone criminals from another location? How would you perceive such a judiciary and policing system? This is a question that ICC, the International Criminal Court, is facing today. There has not been a single case registered against any Western country, but there have been 31 cases so far in ICC, and all of them are based out of Africa. This puts a question mark on the credibility of ICC. This is Degree signing off from this video. Do like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'll keep posting more videos. Stay tuned.